Mr. Rich.
Here.
District 2, Mr. Venable.
Here.
District 3, Ms. Gilbert.
Present.
District 4, Mr. Sis.
Present.
And the chairman is here also.
We got a quorum. I want to make a motion to approve the agenda, but before we do, I'd like to take number 4 and number 5 off. We wasn't able to get all the information we need to get. We will put it on the next work session. So if y'all could take number 4 and number 5 off, I'd appreciate it. And if somebody give me a motion to approve the agenda without those 2 items on.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Make a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We don't have any awards and presentations. All right, so we'll go ahead and have our invocation by Mr. Porter and a pledge by Ms.
Thank you, Scotty. Let's pray together. God, our Father, we're blessed to live in this country, but right now there's so many problems in our country that people can't get along. People have a lot of strife. People have difficulty, a lot of conflict. We pray for your divine guidance on all those that make decisions and those that react to those decisions. We pray that you'll be with them and everything be done in accordance with your will. Watch over this commission as they make decisions about the people of this county, that there'll be good decisions. We pray for discernment and wisdom in those decisions that they make. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We don't have anybody signed up to speak, so we'll go right on to number 1, the voting precinct. I put together a list. You'll see it says proposed voting precinct to close or combine. This is just a rough draft. So, if anybody, I'd like everybody to look at it, let's talk about it, see, does this look good? Does any changes need to be made? What's everybody's thoughts on it?
Looking over in the valley, tell them I want a little more time. I've talked to a few of the poll workers, and I told them what the situation was. It's basically $750 each time we have election. We're trying to cut down the cost, and they're understandable. But you know, I'm trying to have a little meeting with them possibly this next week, and try to get them all together. One of the poll workers had a heart attack. Ed Benson, y'all might know, had a heart attack and died last night at Holly Tree. But if you'll give me just a little more time, I'll try to get this, we'll put it on the next work session on my part up there, please.
On the $750 expense, do we calculate in the delivery of the machines and what time it takes out the EMA and if anybody like messes up during the day, so there's no estimate of that in there?
There's
So
no
it
way
could be
to-
more, it's a $750 plus basically.
Right, yeah. We put it on the next work session, they'll give everybody a little time to think about it. We just need to, it's something that we don't need to drag on, because not only will we have to approve our part, but then we'll have to make sure that the lines are drawn. I mean, there's a lot of other things that we have to do besides just meeting here about it. So we need, you know, if we want to try to get this done before the next election, we just got to, keep it going.
And if we're gonna have a work session, could you pull the voting records and email them to us or something for the last 2 or 3 or 4 elections? Because it's hard to look at one election and make decisions on, I'd like to have a little bit more history on each one of these.
And
For the
plus,
last 3 elections before that.
Yeah, a lot of people are more likely to vote in a presidential election than what we're looking at here is, you know.
go back at least as far as November 2016.
Yeah, it kind of gives us a better heads of what was actually out there.
Okay, and another question, on some of these that you're combining, I know that we have one little weird cut through, like, where is it Richie's district crosses over? We're not combining one that's in his district, one that's not in his district, where that comes out. Is there a fine line between that?
Not something like we looked at too, but
Because that's gonna make a difference on the ballot, where the ballots are printed out. Yeah.
That's a good question.
I don't think so.
I don't know either.
It has different ballots.
But I mean, are we combining one together that's going to be, like, they'll have to have a ballot, they'll have to have a different ballot? Kinda like
I'll
Macedonia?
have to look and see.
But I don't think the ones that we're talking about, that would come in.
I don't know either, but it's a thought.
Thing we need to look at. And I guess that's why we have to send this in for approval now. I'm sure they look at that and make sure that, we're not splitting.
Any other districts or any other races, yeah.
Okay. Any more comments on that? We'll put that on the next work session. Next is research and project selection. Mr. Campbell.
I'd like to answer any questions if there are any about previous discussion and then follow-up emails that were sent, information regarding the different projects that would be fair game. And I guess I would just direct you to the summary sheet that was initially sent out from the work session previously, the 3 projects on County Road 61, 16, and 90, as far as recommendations from our office.
So the second one's the worst one, and the top one will be the next one, right?
Yes, condition-wise, that's correct. And then also things to consider, the ADT and then the other factors that we discussed that surround the school zone issues on County Road 61.
District meeting or our local meeting with IDOT. I got an email on that, I forgot to look at it. Me and you and Tim went last time and presented those 3 projects, and
I got the paper on
we
this.
was able to get funding for one.
Typically quarterly. From our last discussions with IDOT, we're receiving grants for the bridge. So what that indicated to us is they may be inclined to help with County Road 47, which we listed as a pavement preservation option on here, but that they didn't feel comfortable with helping us with more than one thing at a time. So I think there's some hope there. No guarantees, obviously, but I feel like we're going to have to complete Mathias Bridge before those options will be on the table.
I mean, it looks to me like County Road 61, that's the one in around Pisgah High School, and plus it's 954 vehicles per day versus 382 on the next one. It's a little worse shape, but
I would be for doing 61 as well. I mean, anything we do to improve safety for students, faculty, and parents, I don't see how you overlook that and not do that.
So that's gonna include all the side road, the limited access and however they play
Yeah,
that.
there's a whole lot more to this project
Yeah.
than just road work, correct, Mr. Campbell? And we'll possibly need to have a meeting with the school board and see what they're willing to do. I know they had mentioned maybe upgrading some of the barricades we're gonna use and stuff to limit access, and we're gonna possibly make them, I think you had mentioned making them flower bed type obstructions.
There are a few additional items to this. Most of the things that would include researching through a school zone would still be in play here, but the raised decorative beds that would control pedestrian access and traffic, that would be in there. We would do things like relocate the crosswalk to a more strategic place. Now the school lights would most likely involve some discussion with the school, because the way that has been administered is we would pay for the installation as long as they're in agreement with the maintenance, the future maintenance and upkeep of that, which in discussions with the school board, I think they would be inclined to do, because they have mentioned needing control for after hours events and things of that nature. So as far as additional items, there are a few, but they're really minimal as far as overall project goes.
this something we need to go ahead and put on Monday to?
Please, yeah, we'd like to get started on obligating those federal funds and starting our plan development.
Do I have a motion on which one, on which project?
When you want to start doing work on the next week's meeting for a motion, but I mean, I'm gonna get to 51, I don't know what everybody else is leaning for.
Is that what y'all want to do? Just give us a thought and somebody make a motion next week?
Yeah.
We'll move that to Monday's meeting then. Next, we have change order for the 277 project.
A pre-construction conference was held at our office on 1/8/2019 regarding this project. And present for that were the company, the contractor, and the engineering company that's going to be on site. And during this pre-construction conference, there were concerns mentioned about the existing site conditions, being able to complete the project basically within the time constraints. And during the time of year that's starting to work and completing it under the contract time would allow. So subsequent to that meeting, there was an on-site meeting to evaluate site conditions, and that resulted in the items listed in the proposed change order. In order to begin work during February and complete the work in somewhat of the time frame that was requested, the group felt that these items would be necessary to move forward with beginning work and being able to work in the seasonally wet weather. So, the short of this is these are expenses that would be able to be paid by the agreement. It would be paid for by the company. So those changes that are listed would all be eligible expenses per our agreement with them, and
Makes sense to us.
right. And those items also include 120 calendar day change. You know, there was 120 calendar days in the original project, and that has been changed to a drop dead date of June 14th. So it's an extension of time as well.
How soon do they need to move on this, John?
The company would like for work to start this month, so as soon as possible.
So do they need to look at it tonight or next week?
As far as execution, I think execution next week is what they anticipate.
That's a pretty big increase, but wait till they make the right decision, I guess, and Mother Nature got a lot to do with it. It's not costing us anything, so that is correct, right, Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
We'll go ahead and put that on
Next week.
meeting Monday. Next, be number 6, reclassification and pay changes for the sanitation department.
Yes, sir, thank you, Chairman. In your packets, I sent everybody out a letter for this, for discussion to kind of, in the last work session, it was brought up and discussed a little bit. And I just kind of want to let everybody know my intentions of what I'd like to do and where we would like to go. And also, too, any funding for this, I just want to make sure it doesn't pertain to the general fund at all. This is money that's always been in our department that has been issued to another department that we had doing some work for us. So with that being done, this may be a lengthy little discussion. So to keep from getting confused, what I'd like to do is start off with my drivers. I talked with Michelle, our HR director, and a few of you a time or two about correcting my driver situation. My drivers are classified as grade 5, and typically when this came about a couple of years ago, for the most part, we all feel, or I feel that they should be grade 6. And with that being said, I have two people on here that kind of got caught in that loophole. Typically, but we all used to be driver sixes at one time, but during the organizational chart, somehow or another it come up as grade 5. Didn't find that for a little while after it happened, and it came up. And what that done, it allowed 2 of my employees that got caught in that small, I guess what you call loophole or whatever, that just didn't, their pay rate didn't meet their pay grade. So on that part, I would like to request that we make all of my drivers, except for the entry level, which is, I got one new one out there now, and we got a new one to be coming in. Those will continue coming in at grade 5, step 1. But the other employees I have, which is 9-year-old as of now, I would like for us to consider moving them to grade 6. And then we also talked about us a way for a tier of my guys to step up within my department. At that point, those 2 guys that we're referring to there, the 2 right below that, at that point, that would put them at the pay grade that they should be at, and they would then be driver 2s. And they would have to know a minimum of 3 routes, which they all do. And then the other thing that we talked about was creating a driver 3 position. I'd like to create that driver's 3 position because I got some guys that's been out there, they've been out there 13 years and 17 years of the length of time. They know all 25 routes. They would be able to run the roll off or do anything we need done at that point. And they would be considered grade 6 with a 5% increase for them. I'd love to do the 5% increase because it's hard for the men to know that many routes. And they can step up and take over on the route at any time, any place, or wherever they're needed at. So as far as drivers, do y'all have any questions on that, or what do we need to talk about that a little bit more? Now, we did discuss that after 5 years, the driver 1's moving up automatically. I'm gonna go ahead and make a change on that, and they would have to apply for the position. They won't just automatically move up. 2, the way I set this up, there can't no new employee or another employee transfer from another department and come in as driver 2 or 3 because for driver 2, they would have to know 3 or more routes to be eligible for that position. And if they went to driver 3, then they would have to know all the routes plus roll off. And that would take a little time for them to be able to learn that. So for the most part, everyone would almost have to come in at driver 1 entry level position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and
How many route drivers do you have? 6?
how many route drivers do we have? We have 8 total.
8 total.
And on here now, when the other drivers, the older ones, when they move up now, their pay grade is falling within range. There won't be no change on them. There'll only be change on the 2 that I've got listed there, and then the driver 3s, I got 2 more guys listed there, would only be a 5%, just for the knowledge of everything they know and being able to step up and do any position at any time.
You may get more questions on drivers. Okay.
And then the office. As I mentioned earlier, we had been giving out some work to another department, which is a very substantial amount that department was being paid. And what I would like to do in this area, and it's listed on the sheet on the second page, is I would like I would like to upgrade my office. I've got an assistant enforcement officer out there that has been with us over 2+ years now, And we put an extra big workload on him, and he does civil court and criminal court. And that's quite a bit of extra work. And two, I really just need to move him up. I'd like to move him up to the enforcement officer, which would move him from his pay grade of 5 to grade 8, if we could consider that. My clerk 2 position, I would like to move them from clerk 2 to clerk 3, because they assist and they have to take care of the office and run the office when the office manager or my clerk 3 that's there now, a big workload. Exceptions, exemptions, and just the roll-off, everything we've added. My department is growing really, really fast out there, and even more work that could be added on in the future. But with some of the monies that we've saving this year, even with correcting the pay grade that I'm wanting to reclassify, would still be a very significant savings that would be going into our account. I'd also like to, we got a clerk 3, I'd like to make an office manager, and that would be moving from grade 6 to grade 10.
Daryl, if you could excuse me for a second. On July of 2018, you presented a letter to the commission that an employee be hired as your office manager.
Yes, ma'am.
And the commission approved that. So you
Yeah.
currently have an office manager.
Well, yes, but I'm not sure the pay was adequate for that position, because I've got the original sheet that we had. It's classified as clerk 3, and we've always just said it's always been office manager wrote out there, but I'm just the pay rate. That's what I'd like to. But then again, to make this, in this letter that I emailed out to everybody, take my mechanic, for instance. We moved him just because he's got an employee underneath him. We moved him up in his pay grade scale, and because he has an employee under him, we made grade 10. I think, that in our office, that this person is just as equivalent, as good, or as important, and that's my reason for asking for this, because this $42,000 has plagued your office for a lot of years. So just for a small amount of money, and if we can correct my drivers and my office and get everything in order, I think the extra money we can make in the future would be well worth the offset right now. And now this money was always been budgeted, and it's budgeted this year. I'm not asking for new money. I would just like to redistribute the money that we brought in as a savings to get everybody for the extra workload that we've increased on them.
I thought when Nathan was here, I thought we were going away with the office manager title.
Well, we did away with an office manager title at the Public Works Department, and then we gave a clerk an office manager title at sanitation. So while we said we did away with it, we changed one in one department and gave the title to someone in another department.
That was a 20-plus year employee. Oh,
Yeah.
My personal thoughts on this is, Daryl's doing an outstanding job. We've got some great employees in the sanitation department, but we're in the middle of trying to change over personnel. We just made a deal with Auburn to come in. And this is not gonna go good with all the rest of our employees across this county. I understand it's not taking away any more money because it's in the budget. But we've got a lot of people that we've got to answer to. And there's a lot of these right here that's making more money already than some of the other ones. It's out there in some of these other fields. And so I just don't see how we can make a move on this right here. And it actually be right for the sanitation department to have an increase, and the other ones are still lacking. That's mine. Thoughts.
Well, referring back to the grade 6, this paper that I put on the back is just a older piece that come up during talking with everybody. And, you got classified as grade 6 and approved.
19-0.
You talking about the office, clerk three?
No, driver. And I just, yeah, so, so now, when you're saying that, do you mean the drivers and the office both together, or could we consider the tiers stepping up to create 3 positions for my drivers and create my drivers?
I'm just kinda looking to combine the whole thing, I mean, Earl, it's just hard for all these other employees, so. And
I know.
this will make the news, and the morale of the county is not on top right now.
We definitely, when we adopted the pay scale and had 200 employees to look at, obviously, there was some mistakes made. We've corrected some of them since then, and I feel like, this warrants really looking at, because I feel like there was some mistakes made in that department. We've corrected one, the mechanic, that was getting, his job duties were very similar to mechanic in another department, and the pay was just not the same, or close to the same. I think it warrants looking at.
This isn't just a correction on that, though. In the past few months, they took on new job duties. Total new job duties with the collection and everything.
Yeah, but you're gonna have all these other ones to answer to. I mean, they're out there doing things, I mean, the ones working here at the courthouse.
It was in their original job description.
No, yeah. But, I mean, that's just my personal opinion. It's hard for me to make an adjustment for other people if it can't do for all of them. And I understand Daryl's done a great job, got some great employees. Don't have a turnover like they have these other places. But, we're looking at some measures, gonna hit us in the face, I'm afraid.
Like I said, I feel like it warrants looking at and doing some homework on. We've corrected some problems in the past. I understand what you're saying, it looks like you're rewarding some employees and not others, but you're also adding job duties to some employees and not others. And when it comes to the drivers collectors, you've got some drivers that, are willing to do a whole lot more and learn more and are a big help. And I feel like, we've done that with Public Works. We had one superintendent. We now have 3 superintendents, so we created 3 pyramids instead of 1 pyramid. Well, at sanitation, they don't have a pyramid. I mean, you're driver collector, you're at the top, that's it, so, I mean, I think it warrants looking at.
One thing I'd like to talk about too is that there is other departments here that's in the same boat. I don't think it's drastic, but like we've got some in the commission office the same way. They're basically, you're what you are, and there is no level.
Well, that's what Auburn's supposed to solve, though.
Right, yeah. I'm just saying that there's other ones out there, other divisions that's like that needs, when Auburn comes in, that's what that's for.
When will Auburn be coming in?
Verbally, we're gonna begin working in March, and they will be on site in April.
And it takes them 12 to 14 months to complete their study, and then you want everything together, and then you can't fix a mistake without fixing everything, and if we can't afford to fix everything, then these folks get left out again. So they gotta wait 12 to 14 months for the study, and then another 2 or 3 months for the commission to make a decision, and then if we don't have the funds to make the decision, we're left out again. So, I mean, it warrants looking at.
But when they come and go, my question or thoughts last time we were talking about this, when they come and go, they may give us the grades and where everybody should be, but we have to act on the pay raises at that time. If monetarily we cannot do that. We can get everybody leveled out and equal in each department and get them to a new job title, grade, whatever, and then after that, we can start worrying about getting pay raises and things in.
Well, if you change their grade, their pay's gonna change. But I've talked to Ms. Wilson about it. I don't think we're gonna see it drastic. I think we're close in most of our departments. It's just gonna be some that's off. So I don't think it's gonna be as, like this big astronomical number that's just gonna slap us in the face. I don't think so. That's my opinion. I think it ain't gonna be as high number as we think, but it's gonna fix a lot of those situations where they are at the wrong classification, or we hadn't fixed the longevity of it. It's gonna fix a lot of the situations for long term.
And I understand what Daryl was wanting to do, but if you change a jobber collector back to a grade 6, that starts at $13.38 with the CDL. Well, you have that HMT 1 at Public Works that starts at a grade 4 at $11.91. And then they have to get a CDL in 6 months, and if they don't, they lose their job. If they do get a CDL, they don't make any more money. So do we need to look at that too? And then you have clerks that are a grade 2 that may have been here for 20 years working in the commission office or wherever. He has a clerk that he wants to move to a grade 3 that's been with us right out of a probationary period. So that's going to turn into
And I just wanted to move
employees
the
not
position.
feeling fair or seeing that someone that's barely been here 6 months is now a clerk 3, but yet they're a clerk 2. So this,
That's my thoughts, because I've seen the turnover that's going through Public Works, the turnover going through the Sheriff's Department. You walk out here and you see some of these other ladies that works as a license inspector and things, and I said, hey, been here so many years, but I guess I just learned to take it that way.
That's where all the job descriptions and the grades are messed up to begin with.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying what Daryl's got here is absolutely correct in the way it needs to be done, but it wants looking at, because, like I said, and when you come to the driver collectors, you don't have a pyramid. You have people over there that, and they hit a ceiling, and then you can't reward your good employees that are, going the extra mile, and they're stuck on that one plane. And I think that's something that we should have looked at when we done the pay scale originally, but, 200 employees we were looking at. We should have done it at the same time that we split Public Works up into 3 different supervisors. 3 different.
What makes it hard for us, the county, like Daryl's deal, Public Works thing, is they get them trained up, they get their CDLs, Scottsboro Utilities, it's got something, it's a whole lot better. And our turnover is costing taxpayers money every day, because we have to go through the drug screening, the training, and what he gets to see, he gets to see them walk away. And that's, even with this offer stuff coming on, I hope we can make some changes, because I didn't realize they had one about 18 years ago. Then you get out here and going around, well, they had that then, they didn't have no money to make it move forward. Well, where are we gonna be any better? It's in a terrible mess on the steps that we're involved in.
and in terms of, Mr. Venable, in terms of like promotion, and we sat down and talked to Daryl, and I completely understand and agree with that, but like Mr. Guffey said, if you have clerks that are a 1 or 2, they don't spend 5 years or take on an extra task and become a 3, or put 5 years in and become a 3. They're not moving up either in terms of promotion. So consistently across the county, we're not consistent in that area. So really, we're picking one department to fix, and the rest of the departments we're not now looking at, unless we want to take this on again before Auburn starts, and then are we going to make a bigger mess out of it? That's my concern.
I think, and I understand what you're saying too, but I do feel like my drivers really do. I mean, they're in a very dangerous environment. They're in our traffic all day long. I do feel like we need to look at them, see if they don't need to be grade 6. Start off with a driver 1, they're coming in at entry level. They gotta move up through the system and get to the top. And with the extra work in my office that we've taken on and inherited, and it was already budgeted for the year and funded, and it's been done in the past, 5% minimum, or a 5%. Just to,
When did the health department quit?
we took it over in November 2nd.
Okay.
And we've done the exceptions, exemptions for this, well, we done the exemptions, she done the exceptions for this year, but next year we take them too. And then criminal court started in January, it started 2nd week of January. And that's every Friday we're going for that.
How do y'all want to move forward?
We can, I would like to see this on the work session again, and, I'd like for everybody to take the time to go over there and at least study structure over there and what's been presented to us. And I said, I'm not supporting 100% what's been presented, but I do think it warrants looking at.
Do you, and is that gonna create a snowball effect? That's, with this, you know,
Just study it and see what you think.
Yeah.
I've looked at it a lot, and I think we've done injustice to some of the employees over there when we did what we did with the pay scale. And you can look at it.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that, the justice, but you know, I've always looked at a manual labor worker, and I know the people out there putting themselves in a bad situation, but also that man out there with a shovel in his hand with asphalt, it's not making anything, he's standing out there in traffic. You know, he's in harm's way too, you know.
Well, I think the HMT ones and the driver collector ones should be pretty close to that. That's part of the problem that we've had HMT one, people leave to go to driver collector one. You know, I think they should be
That's what I'm saying, we're too far apart on those things, but how do we fix that? It's not gonna be no easy fix. It's kinda like, they just said,
And if you
it's
create,
snowball.
if you create the 1, 2s, and 3s, and you have, you know, you can separate it that way. You could lower driver collector now, you don't leave it where it's at and then do 2 tiers above it. You have to take the driver collector that's there now and lower that. Like I said, it just needs to be looked at, I think. And I think it will be a level playing from one job description to the other job description, similar in the amount of things that you have
Oh,
responsibilities.
yeah, we
things
can
you have
bring
to
them all in
wear.
right there, had the funds to do it. We wouldn't need all this stuff in. I mean, we can bring it together and, but we make something happen.
At Public Works, we created three different pyramids. We created 3 supervisor jobs, 3 lead men jobs. You know, that created 3 different pyramids for the folks over there. And we didn't do it at sanitation, and I think it needs to be looked at. But
Everybody good, put it on next work session, everybody look at it again, and then we can make a decision.
My door is open. I would be glad to meet with each of you individually, show you discrepancies across the entire county and what we're dealing with. I'd be glad to sit down with you and discuss that.
This actually started a couple of years ago, didn't it, really? I mean, we've been discussing it for a while. But the other thing too, now, my drivers, like my driver one, they're required to have CDLs to come to work for me because I don't have time to train them and the manpower to train them. So that's the reason I left a little bit of between grade 4 and grade 5 is because having CDLs when you come on board.
And also, if you would like some comparison with our department, please come and visit with us on the organizational part. I'd be happy to throw any information. The grade 4 that's been discussed, our folks start at grade 4, and in order to have that position, you must obtain a CDL in the first 6 months of employment. That man's gonna go out and he's gonna take a demo saw, and he's gonna square cut pavement. He's gonna take a pick, and he's gonna bust out the edges of that, shovel out what's left of the hole, and then he's gonna patch all day beside inmates. So that's grade 4.
That's done skill, labor.
All right, thank y'all. Next is the HR lease. We got an email, I guess if everybody had a chance to look at the email.
oh, yes.
So we've got an agreement now from DHR to through September of 2019.
And that would begin February 1.
Yeah, February 1 through September, so sometime this summer, we need to get together, this spring or summer, and get them a long-term agreement, if that's what everybody wants to do, for non-maintenance and one for maintenance. Give them 2 prices, that way they can choose which way they want to go, and then we'll look at the long-term, but right now, we've got an agreement that's gonna last through September, so we're in good shape.
I think the sooner the better.
Yes.
Yeah, I started to say, Mr. Chairman, you know, we don't wanna let that drag on, cause that time frame is gonna be here on us before we know it.
And we can
And,
get started.
Get a proposal
Get it
together,
done.
get it to them immediately. gave them this offer, and we didn't hear back from them until the day after the agreement had run out, and, you know, I'd rather,
Get started.
move a little faster than that.
We need to put this on the meeting for next week to approve, right, Ms. Ward? That way we can accept the deal we made. All right, next is State of Alabama Gas Tax Resolution. Has everybody had a chance to look at that?
Yes, sir.
I have.
I tell you what, let's, we can go ahead and put this on the next work session since, unless y'all wanna talk about it, you really need to take time to read it, to see what it's about. It's gonna be kinda hard to have a discussion if you hadn't read it yet.
Well, it's hard to sign on to support something and you don't have the bill, the way the money comes split up. And it'd be very difficult for me to sign a resolution and support, you know, something I don't know what it is.
I know I heard discussion that one of the counties wanted to make sure that their money would stay in their county. I think it was Madison County.
We may need to write a resolution, you know, supporting one if, you know.
If everybody would, if y'all would give us some thought, and then get back with me if you have any ideas about what you'd like to see in it, and then we can do our own and send back. I mean, I think it's something that's warranted. I mean, we had that gas increase since 1992. And the roads need it very bad, so.
I know when they talked about it last session, the number kept changing on what the county would actually do.
Well, then there were stipulations about contractors doing it, wouldn't let our own guys do it. I didn't like that.
Or there's something come up last week, I can't remember what it was, but I seen something on the news that, Jim Ziegler had, come up and told me there was enough money in the fund bill without having to bring a tax forward. And, I heard that, so, I talked to Gordon down in Madison County, and he said, yeah, that's what they talked about. And, so, they was talking about it like, I forget how many $1 million that, they could come up and use, and might not have to be pushed out as a tax, but something gotta be done. Cause, I mean, everywhere you go, that's the first thing they ask you, when my road gonna get fixed.
I think Plan Z, I believe what you may be referring to, Mr. Sis, is, it was a bond issuance. And it would be north of 60 million that would have to come out of the general fund as debt service to the bond issuance that could possibly create 900 million. So it was borrowing the money, basically.
Okay.
The way I understood that plan.
Yeah.
What it was, I just knew they mentioned something about having to tax the people, you know, so.
The only drawback to that is, the way I see it, is you do that, and then you borrow that money and you pay on it, by the time you get it paid off, I mean, before you get the note paid off, your road doesn't need worked on again, so you hadn't really increased anything, you just went out and borrowed it instead of increasing your funding. So, anyway, we'll put that on the next work session, and if anybody's got any ideas, let me know, we can do our own resolution to send back in. Then we can go from there. Lastly, County Road, 458, it's being requested if that road be vacated. Got a letter in the back of your folder. Mr. Campbell, you familiar with this?
Our office received a letter requesting vacation, and as I understand it, their request is for the benefit of privacy, and also they wish to assume maintenance of that road. So their request is to vacate County Road 458 in its entirety, and in speaking with Mr. Payne, he has confirmed that they are the only landowners surrounding this roadway, and that no other users of the road access property from this road. So it's not used for access by anyone else. And just looking at the revenue site, it confirms what Mr. Payne says. So if we're okay with this, my suggestion would just be if it can make it to the next agenda to allow Mr. Porter to start the advertisement process.
And they need to assume the cost.
So,
That's what we've done for the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
several.
where's this located?
Rash Community.
So we need to put this on a meeting for Monday to approve, and then we'll get advertised. Is that right?
All right, then we'll have to have a public hearing. So I mean, it's not, when you vote on Monday, you're not approving it, you're just voting to send out the notice and to have a public hearing.
Yep. All right. Before we go over report staff, I'm gonna call executive session for good name, character of the employee. So it shouldn't take us too long, we'll be back in just a few minutes.